In this next session, we will start with prediction. We earlier talked that machine learning primarily falls in these two categories. Let's start with prediction first. And in prediction, the first thing people start is with time series analysis. A time series analysis is practically about a parameter that varies with time. So on the x-axis you have time, and on this axis you have some kind of a parameter. For example, it could be the stock prices on the time of the day, or it could be the temperature at the time of the day. So this is morning, this is evening, and how it is varying. That's fairly what time series analysis is. Now in time series analysis, a very common concept that is used is auto regression and moving average. So auto regression and moving average, what are these? So auto regression says that if I have to predict a variable in future time, which is t plus 1, let's assume current time is t. If I have to predict, then the value in future is dependent on value which is comes before it, which is current, let's say, and multiplied by some coefficient plus a value which was there when we started this. This is like the intercept, y-intercept. Remember, y is equal to mx plus b, where b is the y-intercept. This is what the y-intercept is. So some kind of a constant plus a random noise at that time. This is added in all the equations to bring in practicality. So random noise is something that has zero average value or mean and a standard deviation sigma. Don't worry about it too much for now. So this equation generally is written as value at time t is equal to some constant value at time t minus 1 plus c plus the error at time t, where it should have been minus 1. So let's look at this equation. It says my current value can be predicted by looking at the value in the past. If I extend this same concept and want to enhance my accuracy, I can say my current value can be predicted by looking at maybe two values in the past. And if I keep extending this concept, I can say my current value can be predicted by looking at 1, 2, 3, and so on and on until, let's say, I stop somewhere with p values in the past. This equation is the generalized equation of an auto regression concept. Now, this p is called order. The question is, or rather before that, so if I have this equation, my machine learning, remember, it's about finding the equation. We know the equation, generalized, we have to find what are these coefficients. If we are able to find these coefficients, we will be able to predict more or less accurately. Therefore, the model building, if you don't know what I am talking about in terms of model, you should look at my previous video. The question is, How do I find these values A1, A2, A3, and where should I stop? What should be my order? So therefore my question for an AR is to find the order or P. That's the first thing I need to know. What is the P value? Similarly, I said two things, auto regression and moving average. So for auto regression, we now know this is the general equation. My current value depends on a lot of past values, which and how many of them I am saying it is called the order of the equation and generalized as P past values, and it depends on my ability to accurately find these coefficients. So two things for an AR, find the order and find the coefficients. These two things I have to do. So I will have my equation to predict. Now, moving average. What exactly is moving average? Moving average is a process where I actually compute in very simple terms. Let's say I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have shown 7 here, but let's say I have 700 values. Classic way of looking at it is the stock price, which changes so rapidly that it is very difficult to make anything out of it. So sometimes people take a window, and in that window they will come up with an average value. So a new chart will be formed. So for this window, my average value at this point of time will be something like this. Then the window is moved forward again one step. I have a new window. Again an average is calculated, and for this point the new average value is put. So if I keep doing this, I will now probably get a better curve than this one before. That's what moving average is. All it actually does is it tells us that we can probably look at the impact of change from of on the current value. So the way moving average equation is written, that if I have to predict the current value based on past values, my equation could be some constant c plus once again the error term plus some coefficient into the residual. This residual at t minus 1. This residual is nothing but my past error. So, at t minus 2 my value was 20, t minus 1 my value was 12. So, the residue r at t minus 1 is 20 minus 12, which is 8. So, I look at residuals. If I have to generalize this equation, right, that not just the past, immediate past residual, but a long series of residuals, how the changes in the past are impacting my current value, I should be able to write just like this equation we wrote, very similar, Et plus B residual t minus 1, 1. B2 residual at t minus 2 plus B3 residual at t minus 3, and keep going on until some value I will have to stop, Q residual at t minus Q. This number Q, once again similar to auto regression, is called order. And in machine learning, these P and Q terms are used. So I'm using the same terms so that when you read other good internet reference, you see the same terms. So here also, for moving average, I have to be, or for rather, let me correct myself. Here also, to predict a value based on past residuals, if you use this formula of moving average, you need to find the order, which is Q here, and again you need to find the coefficients. The coefficients this time is B1, B2, B3 and so on and so forth. So if we can do this, we will come up with very simple equations to start with that can help us in prediction. And I'm just getting a little ahead of myself. One of the very popular algorithms is called ARIMA. AR for autoregression, MA for moving average, and I for integration. We will learn this, but this is where we will start with, so that's why I'm talking about AR and MA first. So before we can find the coefficients, which is a little bit more involved, our problem is find P and find Q. How do we do this? How long do we need to go in the past for predicting the current values? Now, in order to do that, we need to understand two concepts: ACF, which is autocorrelation, and PACF, which is partial autocorrelation. Now, any time series will have a few things. So one is trend. Trend could mean a stock whose prices are rising over a period of time. So it shows an upward trend. That's what a trend is. Second, it could have seasonality. SEASO, seasonality. Even if my spelling is wrong, I know what you understand. Seasonality means every year during holidays the sale of iTunes increases and then remains flattish or rather similar during the rest of the year, and then again in the holidays it increases. So there is a seasonality involved. The third thing could be cyclic. Not too different from seasonality, means something that shows a behavior that has a pattern. So a stock price that moves up and down between two different values, but it generally doesn't have a fixed period. So that's the subtle difference between seasonality and cyclic. The last one is residuals or residues. So this is nothing but if at time t0 I had a value here, time t1 I have another value here, then the residue is the difference that is between these two values. These are the things that we consider in a time series. Now ACF is autocorrelation. Now for those of you who don't know autocorrelation, understand it simply as correlation and covariance are two things. So if I have two variables x and y, say this variable is fuel amount and this variable is range. Now if x increases, if I increase the fuel amount, the range of my aeroplane will also increase. Therefore these two are related. So what I can say is covariance of this and this is how do they vary with each other. So when I increase fuel amount, the aircraft range increases. This means x and y have a positive variance. They vary together positively. But how much is it? It's a little difficult to say. So that's where there was a new term introduced, which is correlation. So that number, I think it's called Pearson's correlation coefficient. is between -1 and +1. So when you compute the correlation of x and y, if you get a value of +1, it means x and y follow each other linearly, exactly. If x increases by 1, y also increases by 1. So therefore, they are perfectly correlated. Alternatively, if I change this parameter to aircraft weight, if I increase the weight, my range will decrease. So they are inversely related. So variance, yes, they vary together, but not like before, that the direction of variance is same, which means when one was increasing, the second one was also increasing. This time when one increases, the second one decreases. So if I compute the correlation, I will get a number closer to -1, which means when weight increases, my range decreases. That's what correlation is. Now, therefore, what is autocorrelation? So remember, I said x and y. One was weight, other was range. Now, if I say I want to find correlation of x with itself, what will happen? You will always get +1, right? Because when x increases, definitely comparing x with its own increase will give me 1. But there is a slight difference when we calculate autocorrelation. What we are saying is the values of x, let's say, now I will use a different variable now. So fuel F, let's say it is in liters. So I have 20 liters at t is equal to 0, then I have 30 liters at some other instance of time t equal to 1, and then 25 liters at t equal to 2, and so on and so forth, right? These are different observations at different times. So if I do correlation of f with itself, I will always get 1. That, when f, I will always get, yeah. Now if I actually shift these values in time, so if I, let's take this example. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 30, 40, let's say 10, 20, 30, 40. So at t is equal to 0, I was 20. At t equal to 1, I am 30. At t equal to 2, the value is somewhere here, 25. Now, if I shift these values to the left by 1, what happens? Which means now at t equal to 0, I have 30. So at t equal to 0, I have 30. At t equal to 1, I have 25. This is my value. And so on and so forth. So my curve now looks like this. Let me take one more value. At t equal to 3, it is 35. So for f, I have t equal to 3, I have 35. The value is somewhere here. And for f of t minus 1, it will be 25. So at 3, it is about 20. So for 2, it is 25. So somewhere, so here I have 20, 25, the same value. So this is my line. Whereas for the original one, this one was my line. Now I have two different curves, one for f and another for ft minus 1. Now I find correlation between these two. Why? Because I want to find how my current value is related to the past value. That is called autocorrelation. When I shift the values by n and then compare with original curve, that is the time it is called autocorrelation. Now this N is called lag or lags. Correlation mathematically, I am not getting into equation, otherwise it will no longer be a beginner's course. Understand it this way. Autocorrelation takes care of seasonality, trend, cyclic nature and residuals, all of it. So trends, seasonality, cyclic nature and residuals all are taken care of by autocorrelation. In partial autocorrelation, we only consider residuals, meaning instead of these values which are shifted, the residual is shifted. Again, it's a complex math. I also don't know fully about it, and this is a beginner session, so let's just understand it to that much, that partial autocorrelation is about finding correlation of the function with its previous lag, whereas autocorrelation takes care of all of this and it is computed by shifting the values of the function by n lags, whereas partial autocorrelation only takes care of finding uh, correlation with of the function with its lagged residuals. So when I lag, what is the residual? It takes the residual of the lag. So if for 20 and 30 I moved 30 to t0, so the lag is 20 minus 30, which is minus 10. This is the value that will be used to compute the correlation. So this effectively is what partial autocorrelation is, and how they are used. Interesting. This is what we need to understand. So ACF and PACF are used to find P and Q values. Which one is used to find which? So remember, P is found using PACF, which means autoregression function. The order is found using PACF. Moving average value of Q is found using ACF. Question is why? So autoregression is about y at time t should be equal to some constant plus a coefficient y at t minus 1 plus an error term. This tells me that if I use ACF, which is autocorrelation, that is dependent on trends, seasonality, residual and everything, anyway this is dependent, we can see. So therefore we are looking at only residuals, and for moving average we are looking at ACF. So we use ACF. What happens is when we plot this, okay, and we will see how to code this. So if I plot whether it is PACF or ACF, when we plot PACF and ACF, the value goes from minus 1 to plus 1. Remember, correlation is a value that ranges between minus 1 and plus 1. And on this axis, we consider the number of lags. So this is 0 lag, 1 lag, 2 lag, 3 lags, so on and so forth. So we will get at 0 lag, we will perhaps get a number which should always be 1. When you compute autocorrelation or partial correlation of a function with itself, it should give you 1. Then for second one you will get some value, for third one you might get some other value, and so on and so forth. What we need to do is we need to look at these two. This is 0.05 and this is minus 0.05. This is called the confidence interval. In general, when we look at a drop in the correlation value, either ACF or PACF, those two lines indicate an interval of plus and minus 0.05. Anything above that or below that indicate that the autocorrelation value is significantly different from 0, and 0 correlation means those items are not related at all. My ACF or PACF value is close to 0 or negative. Therefore, one lag is the order either Q or P based on which graph you are looking at. So, if it is ACF, then you determine that the value of Q is 1. If it is PACF, then value of P is 1 here. Let's understand and let's write some code in Python and let's understand this better. So I have opened my Jupyter notebook and I have imported pandas, matplotlib, stats model for plotting ACF and PACF. Maybe I will import from NumPy. Now I will also import NumPy NP. Okay, I am ready with this. Maybe I should put up a cell here and say markdown, and I'll say learn ACF and PACF. Perfect. Now let's go back to a simple example, which is if I plot a straight line with something like this, y is equal to mx plus b. This is b. This itself gives me an indicator of the autoregression equation. However, let's see how we can plot ACF and PACF and learn about them. So now let's just create the y values for my line, which is I will say y into, I'm just keeping it small, for y in range 0 to 100. Let's just print and see. I have got these values. Perfect. Now my y values are there and x values are nothing but for x in range. So what does it tell me? It is telling me for x equal to 0, I have one value of y. For x equal to 1, I have another value of y. And since this is linearly increasing, this is the kind of line I will get. Albeit my intercept is 0, so this should be my line actually. Now, if that is the case, now what is the ACF and PACF value of this line? So let's first plot this. So PLT, let's see how the line looks. I made a mistake on this line. I've corrected this. I've re-imported. Now let's go back and I've created y values and x values, and now let's plot this. Perfect. So you see my line is starting and there are x values, there are 100 x values here, and then corresponding y values here. This is perfect straight line. So what is the autocorrelation of this line? Remember, autocorrelation is shifting these y values by 1, computing the autocorrelation, shifting the y values by 2, so on and so forth. So let's create a new plot. Now what I want to do is I want to compute PACF, and I have imported this. I have imported stats model ACF and PACF. So now let me compute the ACF and PACF values. I will first compute the PACF value. So PACF of which values I want? I want Y values. And let's say I want to compute for only 10 lags. Remember, we are computing ACF and PACF for lags. Where did I? So I erased this, but let me try and explain this. So Y value is equal to, let's say, 10, 15, 17, and so on and so forth. This is Y with 0 lags, or the normal function. Y with 1 lag would be this moved here, this moved here, that moved here, so on and so forth. So it will become 15, 17, so on and so forth. Some people move it the other way around. So you could probably do Y1 as this moved here. So this is not a number. 10 this becomes 10. This moves here. So 15 becomes 17. Instead of 17, I have 15, and then 17, and then other numbers. So I have computed the PACF values. Let's see how the PACF values look like. So now I have computed the PACF values, and here are the Y values that range from 0 to 9.9, and this is the computed PACF values for each of the 10 lags. So you should see 10 values: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11th. Because I said 10 lags, that includes the 0th lag. Now let's plot this. On the x-axis, I will plot 11 values, which is just the counting numbers, right? Because they will depict my lags. And on the x-axis, y-axis, I will plot the PACF values. Great. Now you see that at lag 0, the PACF is 1, which is correct because it is correlating with itself. Then at lag 1, somewhere here, the PACF value has declined slightly, and at lag 2 it has come down to less than 5%. Therefore, all values which are here represent the impact that these residues have. So the impact on the output is very high for lag 1. Then lag 2 onwards, the impact is not there. Therefore, P and Q, remember I just did PACF, and PACF is used to calculate the P value. So in my auto regression equation, I only need to consider the order P as 1, which means my next value can be predicted fairly accurately with 95% confidence using the previous value, only one previous value. Similarly, now let's try to compute the ACF plot. So ACF vals will be ACF, again for Y vals I want to, and then same N lags. And I will plot this values. One thing I forgot, so at the bottom in x-axis it is about lags. So how many lags? So 0 lag, 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. So now I am plotting the ACF values also. Now ACF, remember, takes into consideration seasonality, trend, and everything else. It is not just residues. So naturally ACF for a straight line will decline slowly because not just the previous values, even the values prior to that will have an impact. So therefore, what we're saying is, if you have to visually look and decide what should be the value of P for your AR equation, then you should look at PACF. Here it is just 1. And for your moving average, what should be your value of Q? Then you should look at ACF. Now this ACF has not gone down to beyond below below 5%, which means I need more lags. Can I look at like 100 lags and see what happens? So now I am looking at 100 lags. Now here in ACF I am using 100. So now I'm looking at 100 lags to figure out when the impact of previous values. This is an ACF plot. See, I have plotted the ACF values. So in the ACF I'm trying to find out the value of Q. When does the past values, or when do the past values start to have a less and less impact on my present values? It is about, if I carefully look, somewhere around 55 lags when I do. That is the time it comes, or maybe 40 lags. I think, yeah, 40 lags or so is what I need to be able to write an equation based on moving average to be able to predict the current value. So about 40 lags is what I think it is here. So my P value and Q value I have identified. So P is 1 and Q is about 40. Now one thing you have to note, I have computed ACF for 100 lags and it is showing 100 here. So here both these equations I have put in the same. Let me make this. So now if I plot both of them together, I see both quite rightly. At 0 lag, the correlation, whether it is partial or auto, is 1. Then at about value after 1, the blue plot is partial, which means I am trying to find the value of P for my AR equation. It is dropping to 0, so my value of P is about 1, not about 1 but 1. Somewhere around 40, I see my ACF plot has come down to about 0, or it is slightly less than 40, maybe 37 or 38. So I need 38 lags in my ACF plot to get to a confidence level of 95%. Therefore, my moving average equation, the value of Q would be about 38 or around that number, so approximately. So that's how we compute PACF and ACF to figure out what is the value of P and Q. Hopefully, this simplified or overly simplified explanation has helped you understand why PACF and ACF is important in time series analysis. If you find any errors, omissions, or you have not understood, please mention in the comments below. I'll try my best to improve that. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.